Hey, what's going on, guys? I am back behind the camera again with another Blu-ray collection video. This is a very big one, as you can already see. This is my Batman collection of Blu-rays and DVDs. This is the biggest section of my movie collection. If you can see that shelf to my left behind me up there, that's usually where all these are. It takes up almost the entire shelf of my collection. If you guys don't already know, I love Batman. He is my favorite superhero. I know it's a very, very common pick, but he's just too cool not to pick. For reference, my favorite Marvel superhero is Daredevil. So I definitely have a thing for vigilantes, you could say. Anyway, there's a lot of movies and even TV shows here, so I'm going to try to keep it brief for each movie and TV show. I've included every movie that I have that has Batman in it, because it's not like there wasn't already enough of these things. So anyway, let's not waste time. Let's just jump straight into it. There's no real order to any of this, because there's too many of these. I just ripped them off the shelf, and we're going to go through them right now. So we'll just start, I guess. First up, Justice League, The Flashpoint Paradox. Really great DC animated movie. Of course, you have Thomas Wayne as Batman in this movie. Great characterization, great depiction. This is, for the most part, Flash's movie, but Batman has a very big part in it. It's a fun watch. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend it. Next up, Justice League Doom, the movie about Batman's plan to kill the Justice League when it falls into the wrong hands. One of my all-time favorite DC animated movies. I think this one's honestly kind of underrated. If you haven't watched it, highly recommended. Great movie. I love the cast in this. The animation is incredible. It's one of the all-time great DC animated films. After that, we have one of my... it's alright. One of the lesser DC animated movies, Throne of Atlantis. I bought this one when I was a kid. I probably just came across it in a store somewhere for cheap, so I picked it up. I have not watched this one for years. I remember thinking it was alright, but I wouldn't really go back to it now. Next up, Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War. One of the darkest DC animated movies. If you've seen this, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I would honestly recommend just going in blind with it and watching it. You don't really have to have a huge understanding of the universe for this movie. In fact, this was kind of the wrap-up to everything. Well, the wrap-up to this era of the DC animated movies. Great little movie. By no means the best one, but it's a pretty solid watch in my opinion. Moving out of... Actually, no, I'll wrap up animated movies real quick, or at least the ones at the top here. This is the Batman 80th Anniversary 18 film collection. I actually already own a lot of the movies in this collection, which you will see in a little bit, but the main reason I bought this is because it's a Blu-ray collection, but it also has Mask of the Phantasm on it. Let me put it this way. The amount that it cost me to buy this set, which still has a lot of movies that I don't own, was pretty much equal to the amount it would have costed me to import a Blu-ray of Mask of the Phantasm. That's the reason I own this set, because I wanted Mask of the Phantasm, and I thought, why not? I'll get all the other movies it comes with. If you haven't really gone into the Batman animated movies that much, this is a great collection to get started with it. This isn't really all that expensive now either. It's a great little box set, highly recommended. Now we can move into live action stuff. I'll bring these two down together actually because they're the same movie. Batman v Superman. This is my original Blu-ray, and I also bought the Ultimate Edition. We'll talk about this in a second. The reason I still hold on to this Blu-ray is because it has the theatrical version on it, which the other copy I have doesn't. I don't know why I would watch the theatrical version, because the Ultimate Edition is way better. But, you know, for prosperity's sake, no, not prosperity. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Posterity. Whatever. Move on. It's nice just to have a different version of the movie on Blu-ray. This is the first version of the movie I bought. I don't really watch it much anymore, but I've always liked this movie, man. Like, it's not great, but I'm a fan of Zack Snyder, and I do appreciate what he was trying to do with this movie, even if a lot of it just falls flat on its face. As for this 4K Ultimate Edition release, this is the best way to watch this movie. This is the... What did he do again? Zack Snyder released this sort of to coincide with his version of Justice League. It's the 4K edition of Batman vs. Superman, but it's the Ultimate Edition with the restored IMAX ratios for certain sequences. So I think it's for the Batman vs. Superman fight and the Nightmare sequence in particular, it goes to the aspect ratio that you see in Zack Snyder's Justice League, you know, that box aspect ratio. But he also went back into this one and upgraded the colors and a few other minor tweaks that just make the movie better, in my opinion anyway. If you're curious about going back to this movie for whatever reason, this is the way to do it. I really like this version of the movie, and I do watch it occasionally. Keeping up with Zack Snyder, actually, I'll swap these two around for a second. Justice League. I don't hate this movie, but I don't like it either. It's a fine movie. The only reason I own it on Blu-ray is because I got it for super cheap a while back, and I knew that I was going to want to rewatch it before I watched the Snyder Cut. I'm never watching this movie again. If I do, I don't know why I would, but I never plan to watch this movie ever again. So, yeah, buy Justice League. I should really sell that. Anyway, now we have the ultimate version of Justice League. I like Zack Snyder as a director. I like his style. I'm by no means a diehard. I was not one of the people on Twitter posting hashtag release a Snyder Cut every 24 hours. I do really like this movie, but watching it on streaming was an event. Just setting out the 4 hours to sit down and watch this and doing it in basically one sitting. It's a great experience, and I think what I really appreciate about this movie is that this is not the version of, even if Zack Snyder got his creative control for the theatrical version of Justice League, this is not the version we would have gotten in cinemas. There's a 3-hour movie in here that I honestly think would have been a little bit better than this, but I can understand why. No. This movie is about Zack Snyder giving fans everything they asked for. They wanted all of Zack Snyder's Justice League footage, and they got it in this version. It's indulgent, but that's kind of what you would expect for a release like this. I really enjoy this movie. I haven't rewatched it in a fair while. It's actually on my list of movies I need to get back to. But yeah, it's a really unique and just cool superhero movie, man. And of course, it's 4 hours long, so you have 2 discs for the movie to fit on. Pretty cool in my opinion. Just cool stuff, man. I like this movie. It's a good release. Now, I reckon I'll just pick these up in, like I said, there's no order to this, so just stick with me. I'll do these all at once. Batman, the animated series. I don't own it on Blu-ray because I got these DVDs for super cheap, and I thought, why not? It's an old show. Still looks great on DVD anyway. I don't really have much more to add to the conversation about this show. Everybody's pretty much said everything about it already. Brilliant, brilliant. One of the best adaptations of Batman ever. Not every episode is a winner, but in terms of being consistent, this TV show definitely delivers. Kevin Conroy was Batman. You just cannot fight that fact, and he will be sorely missed. But he definitely left his mark on the character with this TV show, and this DVD release is excellent. Although, if you're buying this now, you should probably stick to the Blu-ray. We'll keep animated movies going for a while. Batman, Bad Blood. It's fine. It's another Batman animated movie that doesn't really have that much Batman in it. I always kind of liked this when I was a kid because I thought it looked cool and edgy. The cover especially, like Batwoman's over there with a gun. I'm like, ooh, what? But yeah, it's nice seeing the extended Bat family, but I don't really have much to say about this one. Assault on Arkham, an animated movie set in the Batman Arkham universe. This is a pretty kick-ass movie. It's pretty dark, pretty gritty for an animated movie. Got Deadshot, Harley Quinn, King Shark, a weird version of King Shark. If you haven't seen this movie, look that up. It's very unique, actually. But yeah, I like this movie. It's pretty kick-ass. I thought it was amazing when I was a kid and watching it for the first time. It blew me away for reasons you'll see in the movie. But yeah, it's a solid action movie. I dig it. Now we'll dip back into live action with the Batman 4 film collection on 4K from 1989 to 1997. This collection has Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. This is a great collection here. These 4K masters of each of these movies are some of the best I have ever seen. Even Batman and Robin, say what you will about those movies, they look brilliant on 4K. And try to get Batman Returns out. Batman Returns and Batman, even if we didn't get the Dark Knight trilogy later, definitive takes on the character, and pretty much these movies set the precedent for what Batman was for a long time. I don't hate Batman and Robin either. I mean, it's actually kind of a pretty fun movie when you just look past all the dumb shit in it, but I definitely understand why people do not like it. Ooh, which stack do we go to now? I know you guys are looking at this one, so we'll go to it anyway. The Batman on the 4K Steelbook. Everybody loves this movie. I don't have to explain it much. I already did a whole video unboxing this and talking about it. This is a really nice Steelbook. I love the artwork and the finish. It's great. I had to pick it up. I wouldn't say this is my favorite Batman movie. I still think I like The Dark Knight and Batman Begins just a little bit more. But you know you have a great character in Batman when you are what? I don't even know how many movies, like what, almost 10 movies deep now, and you still come out with a movie like this that is just as fresh, just as new, and just as unique in 2022. Love it. It's classic. You all know. Keeping with live action, I'll do these in pairs. We have Dark Knight Rises on 4K and Dark Knight Rises on Blu Ray and DVD. I've come around on this movie. It's actually, look, I kind of view it like The Godfather Coda or The Godfather 3. The character of Batman sort of had his real conclusion in The Dark Knight when the city turned against him. This is sort of just like an epilogue to The Dark Knight, which I can appreciate it from that front. There's a lot of great cinematography in this movie. The effects are brilliant, great performances, just brilliant blockbuster filmmaking. And I think this is also just a really motivating and invigorating movie. Enough said. And of course, now we are at the classic. The Dark Knight is the movie that made me want to make movies. That's the highest praise I can give any film. This blew me away when I watched it for the first time as a kid. Like, I did not know movies could be this good. Because I watched it and I was like, oh, wow, that's not just a good Batman movie. That's a good movie in general. And, you know, Chris Nolan pretty much introduced me to the rest of cinema. I love this movie. I cannot hold it in high enough regard. It is my favorite Batman movie. It's a common pick, but I cannot say enough good things about that movie. Then wrapping up Nolan's trilogy, we have Batman Begins. This one has been overshadowed by The Dark Knight in recent decades, but this is still a great Batman movie. I think this one honestly stands right beside The Dark Knight. It's a little bit more of a Batman movie compared to The Dark Knight 2. Like, this is a bit more, not corny, but it's not as worried about being realistic and grounded. The tumbler chase in this movie is still a standout sequence in the whole trilogy for me, and Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul is a highlight. But like the others, great movie. Don't have much more to add to the conversation. And I think from here on, yep, it's just animated movies from here on out. Camera's tilted up a bit, but that's fine. Mystery of the Batwoman. The animated series movies are all pretty good, save for one, which I'll talk about in a second. It's a solid movie, but there's not really much to talk about with it. Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. I think it's actually a French Blu Ray or something. Yeah, look at that. That's how I had to import it, baby. But, I've always kind of liked this movie. I watched it for the first time when I was a kid, so it holds a special place in my heart. So, yeah. Then, keeping with the animated series movies, we have the DVD double feature of Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm. This is when I didn't know I could find the Blu-rays for a reasonable price online, so I thought, oh, like, $10 for a DVD that has both of them on there? Sure, why not? Keeping in mind the picture quality on these versions of the movie is butchered because it's a blank DVD disc, and instead of having 2 discs in the collection, I wonder if I can read there, but basically it says one side has Mask of the Phantasm, and you flip it over, and the other one has Sub-Zero. So they shoved 2 movies onto a single DVD disc, which you know is just a great idea for picture quality. But, you know, all being said, it's a nice little package if you want to watch both of those movies. I'll do these 2 together because they are the same movie. Batman, The Long Halloween. I think this was... No, it was the second movie in DC's new animated universe. Great adaptation of the comic book, honestly, and it sticks pretty closely to it, save for a few elements. Oh, wait, is it? I just realized that. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. Anyway, moving on. Solid adaptations. I really liked these movies when I watched them. I think part 1 is a lot better than part 2, but you're all entitled to your own opinion with that. Back to a DVD. Batman vs. Robin. Really weird title for the movie, because it's not what the movie is about. Sure, they disagree for the whole movie, but it really should be called Batman and Robin and the Court of Owls or something like that. Because all the Court of Owls stuff in this movie is actually really great. It's the conflict between these two that just gets annoying, and they have this... It's almost like a studio forced them to put in a Batman versus Robin fight just because of the title. Solid movie. I don't really revisit it much, but... Oh, baby. Batman Under the Red Hood. The best animated Batman movie of all time, and I will die on that hill. If you have not watched this, you are just not a Batman fan. I did a whole video on this one recently, a while back actually. I don't know when it was. It's been a while now. But I will not talk about this one because if you have not watched it, you need to watch it. Do it. And coming over here, we have Batman, The Killing Joke, the animated adaptation. Listen, the first bit of this movie with all the Batgirl stuff is just obnoxious. It did not need to be there, and the only reason they put it in was so they could get this to feature length, and so it could have a limited cinema release, which I didn't watch this in the cinema. I just watched it on Blu-ray. The Killing Joke adaptation part of it is basically the comic, just animated, and it's brilliant. If you remove the Batgirl stuff from this movie's great. With the Batgirl stuff, it's decent. Moving on to another adaptation, Batman Hush. One of the best Batman stories of all time. One of my favorite Batman stories of all time. This is not a great adaptation. It changes a lot of stuff from the original comic so it can fit into the DC timeline. If this was this should have been a standalone movie. Them forcing it into the timeline just totally ruins this movie for me, and it could have been so much better. I just don't really like it, and I would much rather just read the comic. Which is true for a lot of this stuff, I guess. Batman and Harley Quinn. This movie sucks. I do not like it. It's weird. tonally, there's a lot of weird sexual stuff in it that I just don't like. And the animation in this movie isn't even all that good, if I'm being totally honest. And it kind of sucks that this is like the last, well, not the last, but one of like the last pieces of the animated universe series. No, the animated series universe that we got. I don't want to even look at that movie. I don't know why I still own that. We'll finish this pile off, I reckon. Batman, Gotham by Gaslight. One of the first Blu-rays I actually bought. I don't remember a lot about this movie. I'm struggling to remember specifics about it. Maybe I should rewatch it. I remember liking it, but, you know, it's another animated Batman movie. They've made a million of these things, as you can see by the stack of movies I have carefully balanced next to me. Getting to the end here now. Batman, Death in the Family, the interactive animated movie. I hate this movie. Hate's a strong word. I don't like it. I was really excited for this because it was basically meant to be a sequel to Under the Red Hood. And I thought the interactive movie thing could be cool, but the storylines they choose are lazy, and ultimately I would have just preferred they adapted the Death in the Family comic straight instead of doing this. Do not like this. It's just... bleh. Moving on to a Batman animated movie that I do like. Look, you'd think this would not work, but this is a fun Batman movie, and it also gets bonus points because it's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated movie, which we didn't get a lot of. We are getting a new one soon, which I think, yeah, should be pretty cool. But this is just a fun movie. I love it. If you haven't watched it and you're a fan of either of these franchises, I would highly recommend it. Son of Batman. One of the earliest movies in DC's... It was new when this came out, but now they have the Tomorrowverse. One of the earliest movies in the animated universe before the one they're doing now. God, that's confusing. Deathstroke was a really cool villain in this movie. I totally forgot he was in this. It's cool in the movie. I just had those memories have to come back to me, all right? I've always liked this movie. It's pretty solid. It's nice. This was my introduction to Damian Wayne, actually. And it's a pretty solid adaptation of him and Batman meeting, and I dig it. It's a cool movie. It's a good watch if you haven't seen it already. And, oh, we're finishing on a weird one here. Batman Ninja. I like this movie. It's been ages since I've watched it. I appreciate that it's just this weird, unique take on Batman. We don't get a lot of stuff like this. And it's just nice to see a different interpretation of the character, and it's pretty well animated. But yeah, that is my entire Batman movie collection. There's a lot, and this has been a long video. So, like always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next video. Cheers, guys.